All right, now there are some breaking inputs that have just come in where the American President Donald Trump has put out a post about his phone call with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin. He said, and I quote him here, President Putin called this morning to very nicely wish me a very happy birthday, but more importantly to talk about Iran, a country that he knows very well. We talked at length, much less time was spent about talking about Russia, Ukraine, but that will be for the next week. And he's doing the planned prisoner swaps. Large numbers of prisoners are being exchanged immediately from both sides. The call lasted approximately 1 hour. He feels, as I do, this war in Israel and Iran should end, to which I explained his war should also end. This is what the American President Donald Trump, in fact, has posted on his Truth social account just a little while back after having had a phone call with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. Now let's now get you some updates of what is also happening again with respect to the Iran-Israel tensions, where the Iranian media has now put out a video of the natural gas plant that is now burning after an Israeli strike. That's happening on the Iran-Israel front. And this is a significant escalation considering that a critical infrastructure element has in fact been struck by the Israelis. And the Iran-Israel war is what is featured very prominently when the two leaders, that is Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, spoke to each other over the phone call. They spoke about the Russia-Ukraine war as well, but they spoke less of it. And Vladimir Putin reportedly told Donald Trump that the Iran-Israel war should end. And Trump reportedly responded by saying that he feels the same, and he also thinks that the Russia-Ukraine war should end as well. So this, of course, is the big breaking development at this moment. The Russian president and the American president putting their heads together, speaking to each other over the phone for more than an hour. And they apparently discussed the Iran-Israel tensions, with the Russian president saying that that war should come to an end. But that does not appear to be the case, because quite clearly the Israelis are going up the escalatory ladder, which is what the Israeli Prime Minister said a little while back. And the Iranian media has now aired a video, which we'll be getting for you in just a bit, of a natural gas plant burning after a reported Israeli strike. Now, the Israeli drone strike caused a strong explosion at the Iranian natural gas processing plant. This is what the Iranian state television has reported. Now, this is the first Israeli attack. And once these kind of attacks start, it is difficult to actually make them stop. Because remember, the Iranians can also hit back at a number of Israeli critical infrastructure facilities, like their power plants, such as their water processing plants. These could also now become legitimate targets. The Iranians have said that they'll match the Israelis every step up the escalatory ladder. These are images from a place called Kangan in Iran, where you can see what is being described as a natural gas processing plant that is now on fire because of a small drone attack that the Israelis have carried out. The plant is said to be located in Iran's South Pars natural gas field. It produces liquefied natural gas and other products, and the extent of the damage is not immediately clear. Now, the report has also quoted eyewitnesses as saying that the attack was carried out by the Israelis using a small drone. Now, Israel has attacked the Fajr natural gas refinery in the nearby town of Jam. The 2 days of intense attacks have left Iran's surviving leadership with the difficult decision of plunging deeper into the conflict with Israel's more powerful forces, or seeking a diplomatic route. But is there a diplomatic route? Because remember, the Iranians were on a diplomatic route. They were having conversations with the American negotiators, and if someone negotiates in good faith, they do not kill the person whom they're negotiating with, which is what the Israelis have done. They have killed the person, the key negotiator of the Iranians, was talking to the American negotiators, and with that, it appears that the Iranian interest in negotiations is down and out, because they do not consider the Americans to be negotiating in good faith. And this is now a significant escalation. An oil and gas processing facility is considered critical infrastructure. And once these critical infrastructure facilities start to be hit, there's literally no pulling back. And it now remains to be seen as to how the Iranians will, of course, respond to this another escalation by the Israelis, where they have targeted a natural gas plant. The Iranian oil and gas industry, remember, has been very heavily sanctioned by the Americans, and therefore the places where the Iranians can actually sell their hydrocarbons are very limited. And now the Israelis are targeting their natural gas plants in this manner. This is a video that's been put out by the Iranians, which shows fire and smoke rising at South Par's natural gas processing plant. So it's going to be another intense night with the Israelis having opened their gambit. This, remember, is the third straight night of attacks by the Israelis. The Iranians responded yesterday. We still, so far, haven't seen any ballistic missile attacks in the manner that the Iranians had carried out yesterday night. The Israelis have also reportedly struck some of the ballistic missile facilities of the Iranians, some of the carriages that the Iranians had. Now, Iran in the past has been boasting that it has hundreds of thousands of these ballistic missiles. We spoke with one of the Israeli analysts a little while back, and he says the Israeli estimate is that the Iranians may have about 2,000, maybe 3,000 of those ballistic missiles, which can actually cause some serious damage. And the Israeli strategy is to now try and detonate as many of those missiles within the bunkers where the Iranians have stored. How far will this strategy succeed? How far will the Iranians hold back and risk having their missiles completely destroyed is something that's totally up for speculation. But at this moment, though, the Israelis have laid their intentions out in the open. The Israelis have said that what they are looking for is nothing short of a regime change, because the Israeli Prime Minister, in no uncertain terms, has spelled out that he sees the leadership of the Ayatollah regime packing their bags and leaving Tehran. That's what he says. And he also said something very significant. He said that Donald Trump's administration is completely on board with all Israeli plans. This as he thanked the American president for the support that America has given so far in this war. And it now remains to be seen as to what happens with respect to this war, where quite clearly things do not look like they will de-escalate. Israel does not look like it is in the mood to de-escalate. The United States, which was not negotiating in good faith, does not look like it is serious about a de-escalation, because it had been supplying the weapons that were used by the Israelis in carrying out that Operation Rising Lion. Iran, of course, is in a tough position at this moment. It is facing an adversary that is technologically much more stronger. It's not just the Israelis that they're fighting, it is the Americans who are supplying the weapons to the Israelis. The British have now said that they are moving their military assets towards the eastern part of the Mediterranean, and it now remains to be seen as to what, of course, happens in this war that is escalating by the minute.